Hi loves, this is your cosmic weather report for the week ahead. Now the big news of this next week is all of these planets in retrograde and then the Pisces full moon. Now all of this energy is going to work really strongly together. First of all, on Tuesday, Uranus goes into retrograde. And when this happens, we've got 6 planets in retrograde. Now, it's not unusual to have a few planets in retrograde at the same time. The outer planets, I mean, all planets retrograde apart from the luminaries, the sun and the moon. The outer planets retrograde for longer periods of time. But to have 6 all at once is a lot. So we've got Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Chiron as well, all in retrograde. Now, when a planet retrogrades, what we're being asked to do is really internalize the energy of that planet. So the next few weeks now are about a lot of inner work. Mercury station in retrograde, we all know about Mercury retrograde. I have done a reel and a post about it, so go check those out if you want to know more. But Mercury retrograde, particularly this one in Virgo, is all about our inner narrative, our inner story. How are we speaking to ourselves? What are the stories we're telling ourselves? What are the quality of our thoughts and our beliefs, and are they serving us? Venus retrograde has been kind of taking us through the ringer a little bit. Now, Venus will station direct the week after, but then Jupiter will station retrograde. But I will talk about that next week when we get closer to it. But Venus retrograde has been really kind of taking us through it, as Venus has been taking us through our relationships, our relationship with self, our relationship with others, perhaps things that were unfinished or things that needed closing off from past relationships coming back up, our values, our self-worth, how deserving we feel of what we want, our wants, needs and desires, and how willing we are to really be able to know what they are and to ask for them. Saturn in retrograde is a lot about internal boundaries. Do we have boundaries with ourselves and then with others? And it's about very deep inner and spiritual foundation. Saturn retrograde is going to really work with next week's Pisces full moon and with Virgo season. Remember, we're now in Virgo season, to ask us to set very deep spiritual foundations that are going to help us to connect to something bigger, something greater, to help us through. And so that Saturn retrograde with Virgo season, with the moon, is really here to help us to find a very strong inner foundation, a sense of knowing who we are. As Uranus stations retrograde on Tuesday, Uranus is a planet of liberation, freedom, awakening. And so we're asked to really look within, to free ourselves, to be authentically who we are, to look at anything that restricts us or binds us or holds us back, especially with Mercury retrograde, how we're held back with the thoughts in our own mind, how we're held back by our beliefs of, oh, that would never happen to me, this always happens to me. So we're really going to be asked to examine those. Neptune retrograde is asking us to really look at our dreams. What are our dreams? What are our longings? And again, it's a very deep spiritual connection. Can we find a deep connection to oneness, to source, to the fact that we are part of something way greater? Can we, instead of getting too caught up in the outside world and all of its noise and its drama, go inwards into that deep connection within, into who we truly are? Pluto retrograde. Pluto is the planet of death, rebirth and transformation. And so Pluto just really helps us to kind of look at any areas of our lives or ourselves that need to die away so that we can be reborn. And so as all these planets are now in retrograde, we're going to be given this really beautiful opportunity to do a lot of inner work, so that as later on in the year all the planets start to station direct again, we get to look at what we've been through, what we've learned, how we've grown, and we get to check in with, going forwards, how can I do things differently? Having taken this time within, having looked within myself, having learned what I need to learn, how am I going to now move forwards as these planets move forwards and do things differently? So this is such a potent time for getting to know yourself and doing that very deep inner work. And this is all going to merge beautifully with the Pisces full moon that's going to come on Thursday. This Pisces full moon, the run up to it is going to be a little bit bumpy, especially as the moon is working with Saturn, as I mentioned. This can cause feelings of uncertainty, confusion, perhaps feeling a little bit lonely, very deep emotions. This is going to be a super moon. It's going to be a blue moon. So it's going to be an awful lot of power to this moon. Our emotions, as always, remember, are there to help us to check in with what we need to know, what we need to be aware of, and where we're out of alignment. And then this Pisces full moon is going to really work with all these retrogrades to help us to find that inner sense of knowing who we are, trusting who we are, coming back to ourselves again. As we start to get closer to autumn, we're feeling anyway this need to gather back, and this Pisces full moon is going to really help us to do that, along with it being a blue moon, which brings some extra magic, some extra manifestation potential to it as well. If you want to work more deeply with these energies, there is the Lunar Living Sisterhood, and we will also get together on Tuesday for the Soul Space, where we work into movement and meditation to really draw down these current energies, to embody them, to really work with them, and to listen, to feel, to move things through our bodies. And so if you really want to know more, if you're feeling all of this, join us there. We would love to have you. And otherwise, take this week to get quiet, to get still, especially around that full moon, and you will find a lot of answers and insights and wisdom coming through if you allow yourself to just come back, to go in. I really hope, as always, this helps. Thank you all so much for the love and support on these. It really, really helps, and it helps us to share this message further. So I appreciate you all so much, and we'll be back again soon. And in the meantime, have a beautiful week. I'm sending you so much love.